Woods, and we're going to be doing an outdoor deal for as long as we can last. The mosquitoes chase us off. Fortunately, and by pure luck, I had a couple spray bottles of
Our Boy Scout. Just a little paid
goes
advertisement
back for the Boy
off.
Scouts. Comes back. It also comes from trout fishing the Sierras. I do my trout fishing too. So you got to go prepared, man.
Yeah, if we don't get killed by mosquitoes, we'll be killed by the DDT or whatever's in that 1936 can right there.
Yeah. It's vintage. I can tell you that just by looking at the marketing packaging on that thing.
Absolutely.
But we're going to talk today, and as it turns out, I happened to watch your video, you and Phil, and you were talking about growing up and everything, and it turns out you and I grew up in the same neighborhood. So we're going to call this one Bass in the Hood.
Bass in the Hood. Perfect. I like it.
Oh my God!
And it's funny as I watch all the shows as I do. Even last week you talking about setting the hook and how to fight a fish, and all the things that were going through my mind as I was watching. I'm like, I got a lot of questions that I want to ask about saltwater fishing. So
that's perfect.
We'll go back and forth.
Oh, absolutely, that's perfect. I'll tell you. And you know what? It's amazing. But that neighborhood produced, I could tell you, a lot of captains. The Norm and Dave Kagawa, my brother and myself, Bobby Yoshihiro, now his daughter Robin, and countless others, and a lot of guys in the industry. I know like the Glenn Oshima started out with Daiwa, and later on went to Costa del Mar and started his own company. But he, so many fishermen grew up in that hood, in that neighborhood. So
that's a great thing.
We kind of laughed about calling it Bass in the Hood, but there were so many fishermen that were involved in in LA, and there were all those little niches all over. I mean, as I bass fished, one of the early bass shops, I don't even remember, but there was one in Inglewood, but it was like a Bass Pro shop, a bass fishing pro shop, but it was smaller. But at the time, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? It was never
in Inglewood.
Yeah. Never the magnitude that we see today. I mean, having Johnny Morris come out and do stuff,
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and man, hats off to you. I mean, I had a choice. I entertained that a little bit, but it would have taken a different dedication than from running one of these monsters out here, and then my heart was in it.
And I never knew that about you. I mean, I just knew you as the guy who catches big bass at cast stake, and double anchoring up. I know that was your deal. I think it was about whenever the English Marine had their Bassathon. It was about 1989, 90, somewhere around there.
I did a bunch of them for Rick.
Yeah, for Christmas. Back then they had them around Christmas before they started doing the Thanksgiving special. And just sitting there learning how to fish a crawdad with the right line, the right rod, and the right hook, was like, I mean, it was like the things we talk about now in the ocean, having the right hook, hooking the right bait the right way.
Yeah.
You do all that stuff. And we were just in awe watching you do a lot of those things.
Todd, some of the blessing was that we're here in Southern Cal, and we're really in the heart of sport fishing. Whether it's, and ironically, I got a lot of oddball looks when, you travel around the country and, we had all these big bass. They thought, it's just a freak deal.
Yeah.
But, there was so much that we had ahead of them in technology and stuff that they didn't implement until recently. Now, you talked about, using the live scans and stuff like that.
Forward-facing sonar.
I saw that.
Yeah.
But that it was 1981 when George Mio and I were right here, and we snuck down. We very secretive about it, but we put on the first color scanning, the West Mars.
Okay.
So 81. So
yeah,
the mentality that we had when I got off the big lake right here, went on a lake, my perception of things, because of the utilization of that scanning sonar, was totally different when I hit a lake. And it was always with the respect to the current on the lakes, and by double anchoring, you could determine that because you're holding a constant with the two anchors, right?
Sure.
So you could determine which way, the current's going that way. You make your adaptations as to how you're setting up on the spot. So, the fish are coming up to the spot, and you're not sitting on it and interfering with the access routes or anything. So, there's tremendous learning curve, you know, and that's
Yeah.
there always is. But I'm just absolutely amazed, you know, what you got, because I mean, man, I started with the Lawrence Daryl's green box. Actually, not
green
Daryl. It
box?
was his dad,
Yeah.
Carl Lawrence.
Yeah.
With the green box, we
Right.
started with that when we were up at Cachuma and San Antonio when we were fishing straight tournament style, you know, in the early days of high school and everything. And you know, taking that and going into a 15-10, you know,
Yeah.
the paper graphs. Oh my
Yeah.
God!
What year was that? Paper graph.
Oh my God! I think it was in the early '80s,
Okay.
late '70s.
Yeah,
early
I still
80s.
have one. I should have brought it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
it's
do.
amazing.
I
You know,
still
we
have
burn
one.
the paper, but I'll tell you what, that, and then about that same time, well, '81 is I think when I put the scanning sonar on the Mustang. My understanding of and the approach on the lakes and how we go about fishing different spots with respect to the current. Most of the guys, without holding that constant with the two anchors,
Yeah.
you can't determine the current. Current's the whole thing that
That's
determines
the
where
key.
fish are at,
Right.
right? So we had kind of an edge. A lot of the saltwater captains down in San Diego, the Sanson brothers, Ray Montera, Nick, I mean, you name it, Ray Stinger, and then of course Taka up here, who I fished with, and a number of other guys, Kenny Hess, a lot of guys. You know, we had that understanding. It gave us kind of an edge because
Yeah.
most of the guys, you know, if you're on the trolling motor, it's hard. You know, so sitting up on the spot with respect to the current, you
Yeah.
know, and sitting away, not on it, but so you don't spook them by being directly on it. You know,
Right. Probably really long cast and everything.
longer casts, which you know, mandated. We had tricked out reels, and I was, I got to tell you, I was very blessed all my life being around all the right people. You
Yeah.
know, whether it was Toyo, working directly with Toyo Shimano, or working with Daiwa too in the early days, and Fenwick, and then later on Gary Loomis, who we're going to be bringing on here in about a month and a half.
Wow.
Around Christmas time, he's coming in. I'm going to have him on the show.
Great. Now, did you feel that when you were sitting on a spot that the fish were already there, or were they coming around and moving to the spot?
I always believe that they're moving to it, and that's
Okay.
but that's a great
highway.
Let me tell you something. That's a great question, because it's funny, and I'm gonna go back to a certain person. One of the best fishermen I ever know, that I've known. Period. Danny Sanson, with American Angler, and I mean, now Danny and I used to tell him when we were fishing Casitas up there, I says, Danny, fish the spot, you know, and being coming out of San Diego, he wouldn't even stop his boat if he didn't meet or fish. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. I did
Yeah.
it depending on which way the current was coming.
You knew the highway.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to come in. But, you know, is the current conducive for that particular spot?
Yeah.
So I would do that. And it's funny because I told the story once how Danny dropped in at Castaic, same time we did. I'm looking for him, put my binoculars out. I don't see him. I go, he's not in a cove. He's going to fish the main point where the current's at, right? Don't see him. About 6, 7 hours later, I see him in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. we pull out of the lunchroom. I go, where the heck were you?
Yeah.
And John Collins, his partner, sitting there like this, and he was fuming. Todd, they pulled out, didn't meet or anything at Castaic, pulled out, went up 126, went to Casitas,
Yeah.
metered around, never stopped the boat, never anchored, never soaked the crawdad,
Oh my gosh.
drove back to Castaic for the afternoon.
Yeah.
And that ended their bromance. you know.
Wow. Yeah.
Danny
that's a great
Sanson
story.
and John Collins, and both of them are exceptional fishermen. They're great fishermen.
Yeah.
But you know, I always told Danny, I says, man, don't trust the meter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put a couple of casts on it anyway. You know?
And you own the Mustang.
I had the Mustang.
From
I
what
had it
year?
here. I think it was 81. 81. Then we
Okay.
also got a hold of the Fortune about the same time, right after
Yeah.
that. So we had to outfit and put kids on that, and then in 1983, El Nino, the warm water. You know, everybody said the warm water is going to kill the ocean. So we bought the Cherokee Geisha, which was the old long-range Lee Palm boat, the Chubasco.
Yeah.
We went up to San Francisco, and my brother and Brian Carhart and all those guys brought it back down, completely retrofitted it with a nucleus of all kinds of friends and family. That,
Yeah.
you know, everybody worked together, to get that thing together, you know.
Wow.
And it was phenomenal, and we were there for the record year of the albacore in 1984. So it pretty much
84.
paid for itself that first year. So it was unbelievable.
When did the Mustang move to San Diego?
But we would be up here. We would be up here all through the winter and spring, and generally, we were in San Diego from June through right about September or so.
Okay.
So we do the whole summertime there, and then we'd move up here and fish the islands, whether it's San Clemente or Catalina. We'd fish up at the rock cut areas offshore, and we kept busy all year round.
Yeah.
Back in those days.
I chartered the Mustang in about 1994-95. I think Wayne Carr.
Wayne Carr had it.
Yeah. Wayne Carr had it. Yeah. And we caught albacore. We caught like 87 albacore. There was like, I don't know, 20 of us on the boat. All in U.S. waters.
It gets you hooked.
Yeah.
Have you been saltwater fishing most of your life?
Well, on and off. I mean, I would say early 90s. Was my.
So here, let me ask you something. How much have you taken from your experience now fishing saltwater too, and implemented it on the lakes? I mean, that's got to help you. And anytime you could do any different facet of fishing.
Yeah, it's I think the awareness of it, especially when you have fish that chase little ones. You know what I mean? So when you have anchovies and sardines, and then you have shad and silver sides, that's where the main correlation, I think, comes in. And that's when you're looking for a current, you're looking for birds, you're looking for birds diving.
Sure.
Not just with largemouth and smallmouth and spotted bass, but with striped bass also, which I like to catch.
Right. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, which are great eating. And so I'm always looking for life, whether it's the birds or the coots, as they call it, or my dad used to call them mud hens, and because they would eat grass, and where there's grass, there's bass.
Yeah.
So if you see a lot of, especially in the summertime, you see a lot of bass around the coots, or you see it, because of the grass situation. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, like we said, growing up in the hood, my main lakes that we fished, I pretty much cut our teeth at Kachuma, and it was back then throwing Bagley DB3s, BB3s, spinner baits that we made ourselves, a lot of worms, the old Smitty worms, stuff like that, jigs. I used to actually make my own spinner baits out of tuna wire.
Wow.
And I actually used ball bearings, sample ball bearing swirls before anybody else. I mean,
what did you call them? What was the name of them? Do you remember? Did you have a name for them? Or
No. I didn't want to let it out. It was a secret. It had a free floating head, so the head would jiggle up and down. So if you came over a branch, the head would do the flutter.
Okay.
And it had a double tail. Smitty used to call them. We called them tallywhackers, a double tail. Yeah. But it was a real pronounced thump, thump, thump. You could feel it as you're whining. You feel that thump, 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 thump. And then you'd hang it. Hang a fish and
Yeah. My first spinnerbait fish was they call it Benelli Park now, Pudding Stone.
Oh yeah.
I used to and I remember because we used to wade out in the water back around the fair time, so around October-ish.
Yeah.
And I used to get these $1 safety pin spinnerbaits from Payless or Save On, I think it was back in the day. I think it was called Payless. And we just catch them, have a little double hook on it, and we would catch them one after another on there.
Kick. We all started at a park somewhere,
Yeah, exactly.
But that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely awesome. My first real bass, other than like Echo Park or something like that, was up at up in Aurora Grande.
Oh, Lopez.
Lake Lopez.
Yeah.
While they were filling it, my cousin got into it and had some, and they were just filling the lake up. So this one area had like a cove, and it was just filling up. But he was on this deal where he got him on the top water Paulus.
Yeah.
That messed me up for life. Todd, that messed me up for life.
fish
That blow up on it, and I said,
Yeah.
okay, this is it. I'm a bass guy now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was shortly after that, we started getting into going up to Kachuma and fishing, all the northern lakes at the time.
Yeah. Were you a tournament guy at all, or just
No. I would have been pretty dangerous, I think, because of my tenacity and competition for everything, and I would have loved doing that, but I love the ocean, I love the ocean, but it didn't stop me from pursuing that side of it, and I took all my aspects of fishing, whether it's fly fishing, everything, and drew from each little thing, and you learn from each different area.
So you started out an ocean guy.
Oh, actually, trout fishing.
Trout fishing.
Walking the
Okay.
Sierras from the time I was
Oh.
tying hooks. I was tying my own hooks when I was 4. I got my first yellowtail out here when I was 5. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been pretty deep in my blood. I'm pushing 70 right now.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'll
Couple
be
months.
60 this year.
Yeah, there you go.
You talk about trout. Mount Baldy. I had a friend that lived in Claremont, and his parents or my parent would drop us off either at Pudding Stone, and we'd walk down and fish in the cove, and then they'd pick us up at a certain time, or they would take us literally to the top of Mount Baldy, and we would walk the stream all the way down to the bottom of the mountain, basically,
My
and pick us
grandpa
up later.
worked for the county of LA, and he would hide their truck, and they'd. I can say that he's gone for a while, but
yeah.
he would hide. And they would trout fish there, but he's the one I learned to trout fish with up in the Sierras.
Yeah.
My grandma was a hardcore fisherman. She was.
We would
she
throw
was
salmon eggs up there.
Oh,
We'd drift salmon eggs.
Yeah.
You know, and they were always hidden in the whitewater, the bigger ones. You know.
You learned about current, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I remember hooking a really, really big one. When I say big one, it was probably like a 10 or 11 incher, which was big for the Mount Baldy.
Yeah.
And I had a net. Now, right when I went down to grab the net, I could see the salmon egg hook, and it came off, and it hooked my hand, and I lost the fish.
Oh.
You know? I seem like I remember every fish I've lost more so than every fish
You know,
I've caught.
I that does stick in your head.
Yeah.
The what ifs.
Yes. Yes.
I've dumped a few, even like I say, even the largemouth. And we talked about that before, and a couple other shows. But I dumped one at Casitas that I think would have ended it. But the one where the spot that, and I had glasses on them all day, but Kruper's sitting back, back at Elizabeth on Taka's Rock, and the day you got the 20.3, and I had my hook in it, and about that much of the line.
Really?
Had the Miller knot, the green camouflage from the Marks a lot still, So yeah, and I remember dumping it that day.
What knot did you say was in there?
It was they would call it a Joe Miller knot.
Joe Miller knot.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it was a strong knot because Joe Miller he developed that while we were doing a goof off trip one time, and at the time it was one of the strongest knots ever. So I implemented that fishing my 10-pound. I fished XT because it didn't have the stretch that a lot of others. It didn't have the elongation.
Yeah.
It was you set the hook and you feel that when you set it with whether it was a worm or the bait, you'd feel that tick, and you'd stick in it, be in them.
Yeah.
So that hooked me on. I still utilize that.
I've lost a lot of fish in the beginning of my fishing career, if you will, from knots. And I discovered, I don't know what year it was, I really don't, but I discovered the Palomar knot before I knew it was the Palomar knot by just playing with different knots. And,
It's a strong knot.
Yeah,
That's a strong knot.
and so here's a story for you. In about 1991, 92, I was working I'm a retired fireman. I was working at a fire station in Pomona. I was in a grocery store in Pomona, and this lady said, "Oh, you're a Pomona fireman, huh?" Yeah. She said, "Have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Chet Palomar?" I said, "No, I have not." And apparently he's retired way before that, Chet Palomar. He goes, "That was my husband. He invented the Palomar knot."
Are you serious?
I am 100%
Wow.
serious. Yes.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I wondered where that came from.
Yeah, Chet
All
Palomar.
I knew it as the
old fireman.
Palomar knot.
Yeah.
The loop, make the knot, put it. I mean,
Yeah, that was about 1992.
yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. I was like,
Unbelievable.
wow, that's an incredible
That's
story.
a great story. I'm glad. I didn't know the origin of that.
Yeah, Chet
I knew
Palomar.
the Joe Miller knot because we were on a 10-day goof off on my 85 for the Cherokee at Guadalupe Island, and we got caught in a storm, and all we could do was hide behind the lee of Guadalupe Island for several days, and it was blowing over the top. And poor Tommy Rothery was on the Supreme, and he was out at Alejos, and he was just hanging on. I mean, they got beat up pretty good, but I mean, it was one of those things. So it was late in the fall.
Yeah.
But oh my God, that whole time Joe sat there and just kept playing with knots, tighten it, break it, tighten it, break it. Finally, got that Joe Miller knot. We took it back to the Iser machine, put it on a machine, and it broke higher than anything out there. So it's amazing,
Yeah.
But I don't know if you noticed that, but most of the innovations and stuff come out of our guys here in Southern Cal. And I attribute it to, we got aerospace, Hollywood, you got JPL, our people, we don't settle. And I'm sure you do the same thing.
No,
You
exactly.
tweak your tackle, you
Yes.
take it. You're not going to fish it stock.
Yeah.
You know, whether you take it out of the factory and I degrease it and put my own lubricants and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean that's just the way we're wired.
Absolutely. When I was little, I'd try to make my own lures. You know,
That's it.
You know, you would
That
just
is
play with
exactly
different
it.
things, try to get it. I won. I won third place in the U.S. Open, the Lake Mead U.S. Open in 1994, on a lure that I took a Berkeley Power Worm, and back then it was called a Berkeley Power Crawler, and it had like a little super float. Do you remember super float?
Yeah.
It had like a little
Yeah.
super float material.
Yeah.
So I took a razor blade and I cut the super float side to kind of make it look like a crawdad, and I Carolina rigged. I caught every fish at the 1994 on that little invention that I made with that
See, that's what
Berkeley
it
Power.
takes.
Yeah,
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
It's that innovation that you've got.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
And that separates a lot of us. I mean, yeah, we don't settle.
Yeah.
We don't settle. You probably notice that when you tournament fish with guys out of state, and you know, I'll sit there on a Saturday morning or something, and I'll watch some of the best stuff, and you've got the advantage of utilizing these live scans now.
Yeah.
But you know, here we were, if you can imagine, '81, you having the Westmar, the scanning sonars, and in our heads, I had a lot of different things going through it as far as how everything laid out and my approach to these spots that I was fishing.
Yeah.
So, you know, that it made us think.
Yeah.
It made us think a lot more. You know, and
Definitely.
that's what does it. But you know, I've always said that our guys out here, you know, I mean, if we were to go toe to toe with most of the guys around, I think we, you know, I don't want to be arrogant about it, but I think we'd smoke them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's proven. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at. You know, I'll just use somebody that's not with us right now, who I'm sure you know, Aaron Martins.
I put Aaron on my G-Lewis pro staff,
Yep.
tight end. And I had to bring in his mom. I had to bring in Carol because he couldn't even drive. Carol
Yeah.
would have to drive him to Long Beach to our booth.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you exactly that.
Yeah.
Aaron was too young to drive, but you know, these kids that they innovate, and you grew up right with that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
When you spoke at the Bassathon back in the day, I think another guy that was speaking with you was John Murray. He's a guy that's originally from Arizona that made a really good career fishing back east.
Yeah.
You know, I could probably name another. Chris Zaldane, he's another one. I could keep going on all these West Skeet Reese.
Oh yeah.
Ish Monroe.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The names
exactly.
just keep on going from
Exactly.
the West Coast. So it's proven.
We had Skeet Reese's father-in-law on my pro staff.
Okay.
Tom Coster. He was a keyboards player for Santana.
Oh wow.
So I mean, it was cool. And
Yeah.
and actually, he lived up in San Francisco, and at a show, I was doing a show up there, and I said, Tom, you know, all he was doing was salmon fishing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He got him into tuna fishing. Well, then he and oh my God, I'm trying to think of the tackle shop owner's name, but he had a big shop up there just north of San Francisco, and they started going into fishing that Puerto Vallarta fish,
Okay.
those big yellowfin.
Yeah.
So he got into big tuna fishing. So Tom
Wow.
Coster ended up being a tuna guy from a fly guy, or you know, trout and fly. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
That's one thing I've fly fished, but I don't think I've ever actually caught a fish on it, you know, doing it. I've tried it a few times.
You know, and again, because I've done that when I was young, and I've been at the blessing of having a cousin that's one of the top fly guys in the country. He actually guided Jimmy and Rosalind Carter. You know,
Oh,
with
wow.
a host of
Yeah.
helicopters and snipers on the hill.
Yeah.
You know, it was
Yeah.
pretty amazing. But
Yeah. I
you
have
know.
a buddy named Darren that actually he actually did one of the bushes, the older bush. He took him fly fishing.
yeah,
George
yeah.
Senior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you just never know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Good
That's
stuff,
pretty
good
awesome.
stuff. Look at them. Look, you can't see,
Yeah.
but look at them. They're coming in right
Yeah,
now.
Phil, everybody's rolling in for the
know.
trip, but this is what it's all about.
We gave it the college try.
You guys kill them?
No, we'll stop. Huh?
No. Okay. That happens. That's fishing, guys.
Yeah, the guys are coming in right now. Yeah, that's what it's all about. The pursuit. Yeah,
All right.
good deal.
How's it going, guys?
Brings back memories,
Yeah.
you know?
So when was the last time you've been out?
Outside fishing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a little while, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Good stuff.
All right.
Exactly. This is what it's all
Coming
about,
back.
folks. We're at 22nd
Give them
Street.
some love. Give them some love.
Yeah, yeah. No, we did. God, what was it? We did Apollo trips. We did. We had a great time. We got sea bass, halibut, yellowtail.
On Apollo.
It was good fishing on Apollo on a
Yeah.
2-day. We had a great trip. And,
Okay.
You know, let's see.
As soon as these
I've
guys
done
all
tuna
go by, I
fishing.
got a ton of questions. I'll be right
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
back.
no, cool.
This is golden.
Okay, good deal.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good deal.
Yeah, I think this for me, it's probably been, I've probably done like 4 trips this year. You know, I was telling Phil I did the Tony Reyes in July,
Oh, yeah.
which
that's
is
awesome.
I'm going back next year. I told my wife I got to go
See
back
now,
on that.
that's that area.
Yeah, beautiful.
We were going down to Bay of LA, but I
Yes.
got hooked on that, and
Yeah.
it's
It's-
and we're throwing big cranks,
Yeah,
the big
yeah, that's
Battle
where.
SK minnows. And
Yeah,
stuff
we're
like
throwing
that.
the minnows.
Oh my God, come here.
Yes.
That'll mess you up, right?
Yeah,
and then
so
you eat those things.
Yes.
They're golden. I mean,
Delicious.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you.
Exactly. I got a
Yeah.
freezer full of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we do.
I can't
Well, that's
wait.
what you know. I mean, being a fisherman, that's what happens, though, right?
Yeah.
We love fishing anytime we get our line wet, you know. But I mean, that's the beauty of it, you know.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
gravitate off in different areas. Next, what's going to happen, man? I got to get you. I don't know if you've gone down to fish peacocks in Brazil.
No, Rick's gone a couple times, you
Yeah.
know, at Anglers, and yeah, that's on the bucket
Well,
list.
I'll hook you
Yeah.
up with Steve. You told me.
Okay.
But I mean, he runs the best operation. But that'll mess you up.
Yeah.
Those blow-ups, and imagine
I've seen
fishing
them.
80-pound on everything and getting smoked. Now, you know, when he told me that, I go, "Come on,
Yeah.
it's a bass peacock." No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
a different animal. It's got an attitude.
Yeah.
The blow-ups just like, you know, 5-foot explosion in the water, like dropping a 100-pound
tire.
bowling ball from, you know, 2,000 feet or something.
Yeah.
But
I can't wait.
It'll mess you up. And
Yeah.
we'll get you hooked up on that.
No, for sure.
Yeah, you'll dig that. That's definitely a bucket list must do.
Yes.
I'm going to run out here because
Yeah.
I'm going to use Todd's mic. Todd, I'm not
All right.
trying to get fresh.
Oh,
with
yes,
or
you are.
anything.
It's okay.
Let's go.
He's photobombing. He's photobombing, folks.
What do you
Yes,
got?
Phil.
What do you got?
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do with Friedman? He comes in photobombs. Tony, you see this?
This is your show, man. I'm crashing your show. Hey, William says hi.
Okay.
Dan Smith, he says hello, Captain Danny, Todd, Phil, and everybody who's here. It's a great show tonight. All right, question for you from Patrick Harnjack. He's in Montana, and he wants to know, do you guys have a go-to jig or lure that you prefer over all others? I know Andy Montgomery prefers Thunder Cricket, for example.
Okay. Well, first of all, a thunder cricket is actually what we call a wobbling bait or a chatter bait, you know, or a bladed bait. I prefer now, for as far as a jig's concerned, a G Money, which is a Northern California outlet. They make the best jigs in any color, any size that you can possibly have, and they are available at English Marine. It's called a G Money jig. And yeah, that's what I use. I use a G Money jig.
Awesome. Well, out of the over 100 big fish that I've got, only one has been on artificial, you know, and that was caught at Castaic, and that was a lesson.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a lesson and a half. But it was on a DB3 Tennessee shad,
Okay.
Bagley.
Bagleys.
And what it was I'm fishing by myself, anchored up in the back of Elizabeth, and I'm not getting bit, so I go from a crawdad to a mudsucker, and generally, if there's fish there, those baits will react. So you'll get a thump or a panic, right?
Sure.
Nothing. So now, as I'm sitting there anchored up by myself, here comes a bass boat around the corner. And I don't know if you remember, there's an English guy named Colin Waters. Okay? Well, he was fishing, and he had another limey with him, a small guy, but they're all throwing cranks. Now, they're getting close, but each throwing cranks. So he's very nice. We strike up a conversation. Says, "You mind if I throw over there?" He goes, I said, "No, come on in. I'm not catching it. I don't even get, my bait's not even reacting."
Yeah.
He comes in, he sticks 2 5-pounders,
Right.
you know, right in front of me, and I'm
Yeah.
going, what the heck? And I have 2 very light bait sticks. And all my crank rods and stuff, I would use those, my blade rods, at the end of the season when I went to goof around.
Did you do
When
the
it was-
scramble?
was it? Yes, so I had a brand new DB3 Tennessee shad
Yeah.
in the box, opened it up, tied it on. Now mind you, I'm throwing a very light crawdad.
Yeah.
So my first cast, I backlashed the heck out of that thing. So I'm sitting there picking it out. I go, oh, great, that was wonderful. You know, get it
Yeah.
straightened out, make my second cast, and then I crisscross it. My third cast, I stick this fish, and it starts walking. And Colin and his partner said, you got a good one. I said, yeah, it feels like a good one. It does feel like a good one, unless I snagged it. And so anyway, I get it to the boat. He said, you want me to net it? I said, no, I'll net it. And that was the only fish I've got over 10 pounds on an artificial.
Bag
and
was
it
DB3.
was because of Colin Waters.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got it. I mean, would I not throw a live bait and throw an artificial thing? Fact was, the crawdads must have known they were eating it or whatever.
Those fish
and
were
the
on bait.
A swim bait and a crawling bait,
Yeah.
and neither of them responded to the bass down there.
Yeah.
And they were there because he was getting them on the crank right in
Two
front of me.
5-pounders. Yeah.
And it didn't bother me because I said, well, it's not affecting me, you know. But when I switched over, the light went on, and I put on that bait, and, you know, I think it was my third cast. I stuck that thing. I wouldn't have got that fish.
Yeah.
If he hadn't, I would have never switched off of a live bait to get him on that crank.
And imagine if you would have said to him, here's part where the etiquette. Imagine if you would have said to him, no, I don't want you around here. One, he wouldn't have caught those 2 5-pounders, which would have triggered you to switch to that crankbait.
You know what? He was so polite about it, and we became friends, and we, you know, every time on the lake. But, you know, I figured it stopped bothering me because I'm not throwing them. But I fortunately, I had I kept some under the seat, but I pulled out a brand new one. But I mean, you know, to learn and get spanked, but to be able to learn from that was the biggest blessing of all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, as long as you're willing to adapt and change over, you got a chance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you never know.
Yeah,
That's
good
always
stuff.
the best thing. Yeah.
Here comes Phil.
I'm back again.
All right, more
I think
questions.
we've started something that we're never going to be able to get the genie back in the bottle.
We got a night light.
Everybody is saying, great shot, love the background. Man, Dan Smith, Rodwind Fishing said he loved that place in Inglewood. It was called Fishing Tqckle Pro Shop.
There you go.
Yeah, and in Inglewood, California, he said he absolutely loved it.
That's right.
Montana, Patrick says, love the view. So everybody's all over this, man. Another great episode, says Mitchell. David Rosenthal, good evening. Nice change of scenery. Oh, my God. Todd, look at you started. See,
what a hit, man.
it's worth getting
We got
bit by
it.
all these
We got
mistakes.
it.
Yes.
Don't
yes. Hey, we're sprayed up. I never mentioned it on camera.
Thank God.
You guys want me to come out and spray you during the show?
Just
let
spray
me
it.
know. I would
I
love
can't
that.
believe I had those 2 cans in my car.
Close your
How
eyes.
was
Let me yeah. All right. And Balboa Fish Group, Palomar knot is the only one I use, guys.
Love it.
Well, a couple of others, maybe.
Well, that's a good 90% knot.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
You know?
If you tie it right.
Yeah.
Keep it from crossing.
Yeah.
Richard says, saludos, amigos. Israel de la Cruz says, good evening, everybody. Steve Bermuda says, love the new background. Man, your stage crew, they are awesome the way they can paint a beautiful background like that.
Absolutely.
Steve said, I always thought the Palomar knot was invented by San Diego angler that lived close to Palomar Mountain.
Nope.
No, sorry, Steve.
Chet Palomar, Steve.
There
Chet
you go.
Palomar.
There
There you go. See, I love this. I love that history.
Rod Wynn is saying, hello. Brian Harnell, what was the guy's name that started the hollow braid? He caught a giant tuna on a 12 2-speed international pen.
Jeff Spectra.
Whoa!
No, I don't know.
No. Well, you know, my sea daddy, who also his boat was here, Russ Iser, was the guy that took the heat and started Spectra. And when we launched Spectra down in Dallas, a lot of you shops know me. I've got a pretty good memory when it comes to that. And you guys put your thumbs down on it.
On the
Russ,
hollow.
on Spectra, period.
Okay.
You want to out any of
That
these
changed.
guys?
No, I'm not going
You
to.
probably create a whole big
They know
problem.
who they are, hard heads. But you know, I mean, it changed. It changed the game for all of us. Freshwater, salt, even my trout stuff. I'll go down to stuff that's like thread.
Yeah.
Oh, for throwing lures and stuff like that. But think about sensitivity.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Hey, hit that like button, everybody. I don't want Todd to break into tears. It's embarrassing. So hit the like button. Let Todd and Danny know how much you're enjoying. Everybody is loving the show. You got tons of people watching. It's been really, really great. Rod Wynn Fishing. Danny is a childhood idol of mine. I was raised fishing with Scott and Dave your domo.
Uradomo.
Yeah, you know
Oh,
those guys?
yes, of course I
You want to
know.
talk about them?
What? You know, I got a funny story.
All right, I'm gonna take a drink while you're doing that.
Yeah, go ahead. Dave is still around, but Dave is a phenomenal fisherman. He's one of the epitome. Bobby Gonzalez and these guys, they're probably some of the premier cow experts down here in Southern Cal, you know. But Scott, his brother, was a bass guy, you know, and so I would see him up at the lakes all the time, you know, and everything. And I can remember when they first, same deal, they did more tournament style. Scott and his buddies would do more tournament style fishing. I think they did fish tournaments too. But then I can remember when they first started fishing crawdads. They had a picture of Scott, his buddy, and this is when video cameras were brand new. He's filming him. He sticks this big fish, and I think it was 14 or 15. It was a big fish, right?
Yeah.
And the whole time, he's babying this. Well, you know, he's never hooked a fish over 10, and this is a nice fish.
Yeah.
And all we hear is this, ooh, ooh, ooh. And you know, as fishermen, we're real sensitive guys.
Oh, yeah.
So he walks in the shop, and everybody's going, ooh, ooh. He just goes. We all saw the video, pal.
Yeah.
You're gonna live that one. You're never
That's
gonna live that
funny.
one down. But you know, yeah, we're real easy on them.
Yeah, I bet. Wow, good stuff.
That group.
I'm coming
Phil's back.
man.
Yeah,
You
all right,
can't get
yeah,
rid of me.
no,
I'm
I
worse
know.
than the mosquitoes. I'm telling you. Let's see. All right, so that was great. Omar says, great to see you guys again. What a lovely view. We're never going back in the
Yeah,
studio again.
yeah,
I hope you know that,
okay,
Danny.
here we go.
It's going to be 30 below
I'm
zero
gonna have
in
to buy a
December.
case of mosquito repellent.
Yeah.
Dan Smith, the view is great, but a seagull keeps coming around and trying to land on. Oh, that's not a seagull, it's Phil. Dan, I'm
Good
gonna
one.
tell Kim, man.
Good one.
Man. Omar wants to know, Danny, whatever this camera angle is, Danny, we're gonna have to keep it for you. Has Danny been working out? Is he on the is he on the carnivore diet? Man.
We love the angle, pal.
Yeah, keep it that
Keep
way.
this angle coming. Phil, remember
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Let's get the
I know.
measurements
I'm
off
gonna-
the
I'm
floor.
gonna figure this
everything.
out, man.
Distance. Thank you, guys.
William wants to know where Tino is. Tino used to run the Freedom. He's retired. He's probably surf fishing. Danny, wondering, what are the contributing factors that cause hooks to pull out? I had it happen on 4 bites last week. Hooks were not, I got something in the way of that. Hooks were not something, just lost the fish. So
Okay.
his hooks were
It could be.
pulling.
It
You
could
both
be a
you
lot of
guys can
things.
take
Could
that.
be a lot of things. But barb size could have something to do with it. The barb. You know, I used to sharpen all my hooks before I fished, and from bass to
Yeah.
the only ones I didn't were the trout. But you know, the barb size is one. Whether it's an offset, there's a lot of different things. But also the way you fish, folks. You know, you got to remember. I don't know if when you're fighting fish, if you're jerky with it. I mean, I may pull hard and I'm doing this, but actually when I'm short sunking, it's actually pretty smooth. You know, the line's going on, it's going on smooth. It's not one of these things where it tightens, and if you don't put it on at the same tension, you're going to have some spots where you'll hear it tink 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 where it tightens up, you know, and then it comes off smooth. But you know, your style of fishing and the way you wind it back. Whether you're fishing a level wind or a conventional where you're putting it on with your thumb, where you're bringing it back and forth, leveling with your thumb. It takes time, you know. It's just, and I've been doing it for a long time, you know. So I think that helps. But yeah, it's the tensioning, the constant tensioning, and keeping it consistent.
I think that when you're losing 4 fish in a row, there's a lot going on. That one, you're doing everything exactly the same. So, you know, whether it's the hook that you're using, I think certain hooks work different for different people. You know, I think sometimes the fish just bite the bait funny, you know, and when they're, you know, depending on the type of bait that you're using or the size of the bait. I mean, there's a lot of different factors at play. But when you lose 4 fish in a row, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, and Todd's absolutely right. You got to make these analyses, you know, in your head. I mean, I constantly do that all the time, you know, and I keep going back to the recent one was the Freedom trip where I had to make adjustments in my hook sizes, weights, you know, because as the fish escalated and got bigger, I went to a heavier duty hook,
Yeah.
you know. So you have to make these changes. And I went to 3 different hooks before I finally settled on just fishing a 4X.
Yeah.
You know, fishing lighter line, you think you want to match it with a lighter shank hook, you know, and lighter barb. But you know, I went with the big barbs, heavier shank, the whole deal, and got them to stick. You know?
Yeah.
So you have to make your adaptations as you go.
Adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And going from last week, listening to you guys talk about, you know, how to fight a fish, I'm finding that, especially if you're on a boat, you know, like a lot of the boats, it seems like lately it's feast or famine. So you'll be on the boat just cruising, looking for fish for hours, and then all of a sudden, at the 6th hour, you know, the captain, okay, throw some bait. Your adrenaline starts pumping and everything.
Yeah.
So you throw all that out the window of how you know, if you don't have the experience of catching fish over and over and over again, you just kind of just throw it out the window, and you get too excited and everything just kind of happens. My buddy, my next door neighbor, and this is in one of my videos on my YouTube channel. At the end, he didn't breathe. He wasn't breathing as he was reeling the fish in, and when he finally got the fish in, he starts throwing up over the, you know, he starts chumming. And it wasn't from being seasick; it was because of him not breathing from his excitement, the adrenaline, you know. So I think there's a lot of different factors that go into catching
absolutely,
fish,
and I've seen that over the years. You know,
Yeah.
running boats, you see people do that, and we tell them just relax. You know, and honestly, folks, now, because it's in the old days, it was kind of taboo to use the rail. Forget that, man. Put it
Yeah.
on the rail and keep that angle down. If you keep it from 90 degrees down, you're going to generate so much more pressure. And all you got to do is time it with the swell. As the boat goes up, you hold. As you go down in the trough, you wind. And you just keep, you know, so the boat's killing the fish too.
Yeah.
So you gotta utilize every advantage you can take on the boat. And certainly when you got, you know, 100 tons doing your lifting for you as opposed to you using your back, that's the way to go. And also be cognizant of having those lower rod levels. That's one thing. That thing, it drives me crazy. I'll watch a bass program on the weekend. I watch these guys set way back here where you're getting 1/10 of the pressure.
Yeah.
It's big. I fish like I fish tuna. I fish the bass like I fish tuna.
Yeah.
And I set it down here, and I'm getting 10 times more pressure setting the hook here than up here.
Yeah.
And then they're doing this. Well, with that much less pressure, the fish has control.
Exactly.
And they're doing all this jumping around, this and that. Well, maybe it's sensational, but guess what? That's what loses the fish.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things, you know, that we got to take in consideration, and you know, when you focus on pure fish landing, those are things that you have to implement.
Speaking of the rail, I mean, as a kid, my dad did take me rock cod fishing in Oxnard when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. I remember, I had the 5-hook canyon going. There was notches in the rail. Isn't that right? And they don't have notches in the rail now, you know, where you would put your rod there and reel in. Why is that? Why did they stop putting notches in the rails?
You know, I don't know. We had them in certain areas, but we got away from that. You know, I think one of the things too, Todd, is if you put a notch in where you put your rod up there, when the fish come up, if they come up and start chewing, you got a 20-pound rod there. You still got to take that run back. If you're assessing what's going on immediately, seeing the fish boil, come right tight to the boat, right? You want to hang them on 40. You want to hang them on the heaviest line you can.
Yeah.
So the progression is you start heavy and go down.
Okay.
Because what happens, you hook a fish on 20, and it's a nicer fish. You could be on that thing for half an hour, lose the fish. What do you have? You got nothing in the side.
Right.
You got to go back, rehook the fish.
Yeah.
You hook them on the heavy. If you throw the heavy line, if they don't bite it, you could always scale down.
Yeah.
But if you hang them on the heavy line, you're going to have 2 or 3 fish with the heavier stuff when the guy's still fighting the fish on 20 pound.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've always, the progression is you start heavier and go down. But watching the way the fish react, the way they boil up, if you start seeing everybody go bendo, you just go as heavy as you can.
Yeah.
You know? That's the thing.
I see that for sure. On my last trip, I caught the first patty stop. We did the Dorado thing. You know, we caught a bunch of small Dorado, and so I decided to pull out my 20-pound test. You know, and so I caught one on that, and then the times that the guys were baiting, we weren't catching. And then all of a sudden, all heck broke loose at the end, and I pulled out 17-pound test, and I caught a 28-pound yellowfin on it, and it took me like 35 minutes to get in. Some guys had caught 2 fish because they were using the
Right. Okay. See, I was just going to get to that too. You know, once you have them hung, what do? You don't break them off.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now you lose part of the school. Because
Yeah.
that fish that breaks off is going to take a certain segment with it as he takes off.
Yeah,
You know?
good point.
But you know, when you start heavy, and you everybody's fishing heavy, you keep them tight, the tight radius around the boat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And what happens is, even if a fish breaks off, if they're that tight,
They're gonna stay.
the chum's going to hold them tight to the boat.
Yeah.
And so, you know, cooperating and I used to tell my group set, if I tell you to start fishing the heavy line, fish the heavy line.
Yeah.
You guys want it because you are also responsible for building the spite. And if you're all fishing light line and those fish are all scattering out like there, and then you start losing one here and there, that part of the school keeps dissipating.
Yeah.
So, you know, groups that work together and they understood that when I told them fish the heavy stuff, you know, you can keep them tight to the boat. And they're in a much closer, you know, tighter radius to the boat. So even if you lose one, the chum will keep them around. You know, so.
Well, the great thing about Friedman Adventures is Phil keeps all the guys, the tackle shops, you know, making a lot of money because I always bring the kitchen sink, you know, from 20-pound to 100-pound, and the 200-pound at night. I'm watching. And another thing I learned is fresh bait. Keep a fresh bait. If you pin them on the nose, you can reel them in slow. Okay, I've learned a lot about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm a student of the game.
You know, it's so cool though. But you're gonna find there's gonna be crossover stuff when you're on a lake.
Yes.
You're gonna be implementing things that you learned
for
too,
sure.
you know?
Awareness.
So it's,
Yes.
yeah. So it all helps out. It just goes back in that big catalog you got back, that big computer you got.
Yeah. I think
Anyway,
Phil's
hey,
coming
remember
back.
for
I
that.
can feel him
Oh,
elbows.
he's got
Thank you for
questions.
saying that. That's why I'm here.
Oh, he
Forget all this
oh,
other-
you're
Up
kissing
some
up to this. I can't
fluorocarbon.
believe it. Yeah, you're kissing up to him.
Hey, if I need a day off, I know where to go now.
That's right.
Oh my God, he's better than me, for God's sake. Hey, Isaac says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Better late than never." DJB, he's back, and he wants to just reiterate he was fly lining when he pulled those hooks. He said the one thing that he changed was he went to a short, straight fluorocarbon leader versus a mono top shot to get the bait to swim better. Could that have contributed
That
to
does.
the pulled
Stretch.
hook?
You have no elongation with very
Stretch.
little and stretch, right? Elongation with the floral. It's much, you know, you don't have the same stretch.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this on the Freedom trip. I had to lengthen out and put mono in there too to get bit, because you know when you're long range fishing, you get spoiled, right?
Yeah.
I could take straight fluorocarbon and spectra, and if I'm making a long cast, I get nailed immediately.
Yeah.
When you're fishing competitively with 28 other guys that are fishing mono and stuff, and
You really
fluorocarbon,
get a bit more.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What knot
So
do you use?
as a connector?
Fluoro.
I just use, you know what I use? They called it the cigar knot. You know what that
Oh,
is?
I've never heard of that
You
one.
put them together, you do the loop, and it's a couple of twists, and you just pull it right through. But it's
Okay.
virtually 100%. I've never lost. I never lost. Fish
I'll
on
look that one
knot.
up.
Yeah,
Cigar.
look at the cigar
Yeah,
knot,
yeah.
And that was Richard Hightower when he first brought out fluorocarbon.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
showed me that at the time, and that was awesome. That was the first fluorocarbons.
I do a lot of braid to leader in the bass world too, and so I use I use 2 different knots depending on how much of a hurry I'm in. I use a knot called the tarpon knot, which is really easy to tie, and I also use an FG knot, which is a lot harder to tie.
yeah,
And
that's
so
a
if
good
I'm in
knot.
a hurry, I'll tie all my FG knots while I'm at the house, and if I'm not in a hurry, I'll tie an FG knot. But if I'm in a hurry, I'll tie that tarpon knot. The only problem, you got to clip that tarpon knot really, really close so it doesn't hit your eyes when you come out. You know?
Oh, okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. You know, it was funny because a friend of mine, Joe Miller, developed his knot, and for years when we put it on the Eisen machine at all the trade shows,
Yeah.
it would blow everything away. And it took a little longer, and you had to really test it and tighten it up. But if it snugged up, it wasn't going to break.
Wow, we
right?
need to bring that machine back
Yeah,
out.
yeah. And so, you know, it's funny because the guys go, "Well, doesn't it take too much time?" I says, "Listen, you're fighting a fish. What are you worried about?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't worry about it.
Yeah, right.
But if
right.
you have a knot and you're not comfortable with,
yeah,
you don't have the confidence in it, Is
Yeah.
it worth that extra,
Right.
30 seconds or whatever it takes to do
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
And
The
and
hardest
you
part is
gotta
when the fish are
understand
jumping in the boat
Yeah,
and you got to
exactly.
retie it.
That's right. That's right.
That's when you got to
That's
I'll
right.
just do a uni, double uni, Yes, sir. Phil, you got something for
I
us?
do.
There it is.
Why do they call you Big Daddy?
Ah,
Big Daddy.
That's right. Well, look at me. It's kind of a boring story with that deal, but what? So I have a buddy that lives in San Diego. His name's Art Berry. Loves the ocean. He's been around forever, and he used to call me Big Daddy. It was just a random name. He would call me Big Daddy, and I found myself calling people Big Daddy when I didn't know their name. So I'd yell out, "Hey, Big Daddy!" And so the next thing you know, everybody started calling me Big Daddy because I was calling them Big Daddy. That's how I got the nickname, Big Daddy.
Hey, are you giving away something tonight? People understand
Ah.
who's
Oh,
responsible for
my God.
giving that away. And
They've been
what else can
watching.
you tell
All
us?
right, so yeah, I brought lots of. My deal is I like to bribe people. Okay, and as you guys know, I'm a anglers Marine Pro staffer.
Oh,
But
wow.
I brought a couple things. I brought a Lose $200 reel.
Whoa.
Okay, right here. Going to be giving that away for, some question or answer we can come up with sometime during the show. And with that, you get the shirt because it was donated, or the hat from English Marine. So we got that.
Rick, man, I remember all the bassathons and everything. Boy, he set the bar around the country, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
That bassathon.
he still does. He still sets the bar.
He always does.
Yeah,
because he's out there with everything.
He's a great guy, and his
he
deal
set up
is
all my boats.
customer service.
Yeah. Doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
If you need a bass boat.
And
there's
I'll
only
tell you
one
a
guy.
really, really quick story. He sold a used boat about 6 months ago. It was a used boat, but it was a $50,000 boat. It had a Evinrude on it. They had bought it from someone else, and it had an Evinrude on it. And the guy took the boat out. His very first trip, the motor blew. And, when you buy a used boat, most of the time there's no warranty that comes with it. He replaced the motor on that boat free of charge.
Boy, that's Rick.
That's Rick.
That's
yeah.
Rick. He
Yeah.
backs it, and I'll tell you, he built. I had my champ back in those days. He built a special live well for me because I didn't like releasing those big fish back on the spot, because whether it's the pheromones, whatever it is, or was it me in the head?
Yeah.
I
You
didn't
don't
want
want to scare them other 10 pounders. Yeah.
So
yeah.
the live well that he had built, it went all the way across the boat. I could easily put 5 or bigger 10 pounders in that well.
Yeah.
And when you leave the spot, you let them go. When
Sure.
you're done. But
Wow.
he was the best.
It takes
Rick
a big
is
live well to
absolute-
hold
yeah,
those big fish
yeah.
you're catching.
But and he got it.
Yeah.
Rick gets it. And he was here. When we were popping all the world records here in California.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was really at the heart of everything. So
absolutely.
nobody's better than Rick. I'll tell you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good work. I got Berkeley baits I'm going to give away. I've got some Yamamoto baits I'm going to give away, and in the saltwater field, let's see if I can find it here. I've got a Yozuri tuna popper right here.
Holy smokes!
All right, so
Candy,
we'll see
guys.
what we can do. We can see what we can do.
Man,
Give something away.
What do you want to do? Give this all away at the very end, or give one away? And are you going to do?
I can
are you
give
gonna do
one
this
away.
question?
You can do.
Wait a minute, I don't want to do. You go.
I can ask a question about myself, or
Or
for
something
instance,
they've heard during the show, maybe.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Let's come up with something.
You want to do one right now?
I know what. Yeah. Here's.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. I want someone to name one of my sponsors. Yeah. Name one of my sponsors. The first person to name the sponsors. One of my sponsors. I've got a Yozuri popper right here. First person names.
LA Exotic says Anglers Marine.
Anglers Marine. All right. That's perfect. Good
LA
job.
Exotics wins.
He
right?
wins. All right.
All right, there's one.
All right. There's one.
All right, listen. Here's the deal. You must text me because I'm going to get this to you.
Yes.
Maybe. Or you want me to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on where you live.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's all yours. Yeah.
All right, so text me at 657-227-6459. Okay? And remind me what you won, and we're good. 500 people are going to text me and say
Of
they
course.
won.
Hey, I won
Right?
that thing.
It was me.
Yeah, no, it was me.
What's the guy's name again?
He goes under LA Exotics.
LA Exotics.
Yeah,
Okay.
he had a ton of
There you
people
go.
come in.
We got-
Travis Wright said Lose. Dan Smith said Bass Pro. Tyler Tanaka. What fishing series format? Oh, okay. He's asking a
Different question. Okay, let's go with his question. I'll answer
Okay,
it.
let's do that. Tyler wants to know, Todd, what fishing series format do you prefer the most?
Man, that's a great question. Now, fortunately, I've won in what I would say both formats. Okay, when I say that, I've won in the pro division where you catch the pro catches 5 fish, and then the co-angler has to catch his own fish. Okay, and I've also won in the shared weight format, which is like where one bass uses shared weight, where no matter what, whatever the boat catches, the best 5, you share that weight. It's kind of like a team tournament.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. And the reason why I like that format a little bit better because it gives the co-angler or the AAA an opportunity to not get so backseated in the situation. In other words, I can actually keep you from catching fish by the positioning of the boat. Which I typically don't, because usually my guy, even if he's competing against his own fish, he always catches them with me because I'm usually around fish most of the time. So, but I do like the shared weight format because it gives you, it's funner. It's more of a team concept.
Yeah.
One bass, Billy Egan, does a great job. Lake Mojave U.S. Open, I think we've got like almost 190 pros and co's. So that's
Whoa.
almost 400 people fishing.
Awesome.
That starts on October
Man, oh,
16th.
man.
So, yeah.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
All right, I'm coming back. Oh, we had a gentleman right there. There we go. I'm back.
All right.
Let's see. Omar wants to know, Danny, did you have any experience with Norm's Landing in your fishing experiences? Do you have any special memories
Norm's
associated
Landing,
with it?
That's originally where I had my boat, the Mustang, before we moved right here to 22nd Street. But it went Norm's Landing. As I grew up, I fished there with my grandparents when I was like 5 years old. In fact, I got my first yellowtail out of there, back then when I was a little kid. So I'm talking a long time. It's going to be probably 60-something years now.
Wow.
But it's been around forever. The old Pier Point was around. But it transitioned to, over the years, we went to Norm's. There's L.A. Harbor Sport Fishing. It changed names a few times. So, but that was L.A. Harbor Sport. What else was there? There was a couple other ones. But, it's basically Ports of Call. Yeah. So it transitioned because Durr had it. I think when Tom had it, it was a different name too. Then finally my final transition was right here at 22nd Street. And that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
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 But yeah.
I'm back again.
All right, good.
Like a nightmare, man. Jim Stone wants to know, what pound test for top water lures for lake bass?
Okay, when you're fishing top water, it always depends on the size of the bait that you're throwing, okay? So if you're gonna throw a tiny popper, you might use 8-pound test. You might even go down to 8-pound test if you're gonna throw, say, a skinny dipper, a little dipper, which is a small little top water bait, okay? Sometimes you might have to throw 6-pound. But generally, I would say, and here's the catch, you almost never want to throw fluorocarbon line when you're fishing topwater. And the reason why is because fluorocarbon line sinks, okay? So you either want to throw straight braided line, the fish don't care. They don't care if the seeing the braid. Or I would say anywhere between 12 and 20-pound monofilament line, okay? Because it floats and it has stretch. So
That's a great question. I just learned something.
Good.
Yeah, because
You're the one who always says you can always learn something.
Yeah, you did say that. I heard
exactly.
you say
But
that last
that's
week.
exactly it. But like all I had back in those days when I was fishing artificials was mono. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it was.
By the way, I just want to
Fortunate.
reiterate what everybody here is saying. This is a great show.
Oh, good.
So, and I'm loving it too, sitting out here. Hey, Dean. Hey, Dean's loving it, man.
Yeah.
All right, another one for you guys. And let's see, LA Exotics Wacky Rig, or is it Nico Rig? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, wacky rig or Nico rig.
Yeah.
It depends. Now, I like, whenever I'm fishing, say a Cinco, thin Cinco, made by Yamamoto. I like to wacky rig my bait, and what he's asking that on the wacky rig is the Cinco is like a stick bait, okay, and if you hook it Texas rig, it will fall and shimmer as it goes down. If you hook it as a wacky rig, it will make wider wiggles as it's falling down. And the other thing about the wacky rig is when you pull it, it creates more of a wing flapping action as you pull it. Okay, so wacky rig definitely with a Senko. Nico is a great technique. However, I haven't caught a lot of fish on it. I'm very much a reaction bait fisherman. But if you're going to throw a Nico rig, basically what you want to do is put like a 3/16 ounce nail in the head, and then put a little like, whether you could use it on a Senko, you can use it. One of my friends' favorite worm is a swamp crawler made by Zoom, and so he'll put a little ring on there, and then he'll put the hook like a small kamikatsu hook, like a split shot style hook, like in a number 1, and then he'll just throw it out, let it sink, shake it, let it sit, shake it, let it sit, all the way back to the boat, and that's how you fish a Nico rig. A wacky rig, you throw it out, let it sink all the way to the bottom. Most of your bites are going to happen on the fall when you throw it out. So that's the main difference between a Nico and a wacky. And they both have different places, especially if you guys have 2 in a boat. Have one guy throw a wacky rig, have another guy throw a Nico rig, and see who catches the most.
There you go.
DJB says, Phil and guests, I just wanted to thank you for all the knowledge transfer contributions that you all provide to your followers. Thank you, gentlemen. You guys are killing it.
He's the
Right
man.
on, right
Let me
on.
tell you, I'm
Well,
learning stuff.
Let's give away.
Here we go.
Let's give away something. I'm gonna double this up. I'm gonna give away Yamamoto, and I'm gonna give away some Berkeley Power Max Scent. Okay, so let's see. Let's go with what year? Now this is a Bass Club question, so you're gonna have to go back a few years. Now remember, I'll be 60 this year. So what year did I win Angler of the Year in the Bass Club? Okay, that was my first Angler of the Year title. Actually, it was my only Angler of the Year title. But what year was that? Now I'm 60, so you're gonna have to do a little math.
I'm looking. No answer so far.
I just want the year.
I'll come in here and read them on the fly. I don't see anybody answering
Nobody's
yet.
gonna answer. All right.
Not yet.
Let's see. Well, should I ask another question?
SoCal Drew says 1985.
Woo! You are so close, Drew.
Oh, Travis Bright says 2003.
Oh, Drew's the closest.
Daniel Liano says 1984.
Oh, you're getting hot. You are hot.
Doug Rubin says hello.
Hi, Doug.
LA Exotic says 1986.
You're going the wrong way, Exotica.
Omar says 1987.
You guys are going the wrong way.
Another gentleman.
It was El Nino, probably.
Nick says 1989. Travis Bright, 83.
There, Travis.
See?
Travis.
El Nino.
There's a whole bunch of other ones, man.
Good job.
Travis,
That's El
remind
Nino
me, I think
fish.
you're coming with us on our Sunday trip. I'll have them right here in the office for you.
Perfect.
So we got you.
All
All
right.
right. Beautiful. This is way too much.
10 more minutes, we'll do the reel. How's that?
Oh,
Whoa!
a $200 reel because of this gentleman in Anglers Marine.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
know how it gets any better. What do
No,
you
it does
think,
not get
Danny?
any better.
Yeah.
Does
And you know
not.
what? It's getting kind of dark out. You guys look great on that camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're all lit up.
Really? That's
Everything's
awesome.
looking good.
Good to hear.
When are you two gonna fish
We don't have to wear
together?
clothing.
Oh,
we're going to have.
when he'll have me. When he'll have me.
Listen, we'll do anything. I'll go fish with you. I'm trying to think of how many bass rods I got left. I went through
I wanna go
so many
ocean fishing with
transitions.
you.
I'm so old. It was fiberglass.
Let's
when
go
we
catch
first
some
started,
calico
man.
or something,
Yeah,
you
there
know?
we go.
Yellowtail.
There we go. Now you're talking. Yeah.
And don't forget,
We'll go take this guy.
I'll go.
Yeah, there we
Somebody's
go.
gonna shoot the video.
Yeah,
our
Maybe I can
exactly.
get somebody
There you
to
go.
actually film and fish with you guys. That would
Perfect.
be a
Yeah.
treat
That
for
would be
me.
perfect.
There's no question about it. December the 2nd, our Christmas party. You gonna be there?
I'm going to be at Lake Mead, actually.
Oh, that's
yeah. I've got
right.
a Bass
I know
Master
Danny's
tournament.
gonna be
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I'm bummed that I'm
Danny's
not
gonna put his
fish it.
Santa Claus suit on
Yeah.
for that
That's
one.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Can we change the date?
Maybe we'll see what we can do. Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Week
there,
after
Todd.
next.
We got all kinds of other stuff going on, so
Good.
no problem. All right, let me jump back here, and I think we got some more questions. We do. LA Exotics. How big? This can go for both you guys. Is your personal best largemouth, and what did you catch it on?
That's a great question. You want to go first? I should go first because he's going to kill me with his, I already say his 19-pounder he caught. My personal best, here's a quick little story. I have a buddy named Jesse Takarani. He owns a company called Enigma Rods, okay? Really good friend of mine. Used to live in Vegas, moved to Florida. He's been in Florida for about 15 years or so. He invited me he said, hey, if you come to Florida, I will catch you a 30-pound bag, and that's 5 fish, 30 pounds, which is a 6-pound average, very doable. And so I'm like, yeah, right, I've heard that before. Anyway, long story short, I went to visit him, and the first spot, this one little area he took me to, I was fishing a worm, and got bit, set the hook, 10-pounder comes shaking up, and I lose the fish. Okay, I'm in Florida for 4 days. After that lake, we went to another lake. I wanted to go to all the popular lakes in Florida, which I did. We caught a few fish. We got to the 4th day, and Jesse says to me, what lake do you want to fish again? And I said, I want to fish that lake where I lost the 10-pounder. Okay, so here's another one of those deals where you got to pay attention to your environment when you're fishing. Okay. Got a guy coming by, so come on by.
Come on through,
You can hear
man.
my
He's a
story, come by.
hardworking kid.
Yeah. You guys,
On the live
you got the
show.
priority. You guys, that's why we're here, man, because of the
Yes, sir.
landing.
Yes, sir.
All right, these guys are working their tail.
Exactly. Well, that's it.
That's what it's all about. So anyway, we went back to that lake where I lost a 10-pounder. I think it's called Kenansville in Florida. And he started catching a few fish on a fluke, small ones, small males. It was in the springtime. And a guy ended up breaking down. We ended up taking the guy in, put him in. He goes, man, this is good karma that we're bringing these guys in, right? So we bring him in. We go back out. And he says, yeah, sometimes I catch fish on a Reaction Innovation skinny dipper, the full-size one. So he had one rigged. He started fishing at these little toolies. They call them toolies, bulrushes. And he starts catching 5-pounders. Every time he would make a cast, he'd catch a 5- and 6-pounder. I mean, every cast. And I'm in the back of the boat, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the guest. Why aren't I catching these fish? And he goes, and so after about him catching at least like the 15th 5- or 6-pounder, he goes, you're not throwing your bait in the right spot. I went, I'm throwing it around the same way. He goes, you see where the toolies meet, where there would be 3 toolies sticking out? He goes, that's where you want to throw. I'm like, okay. I threw out. I caught a 10-pounder on that cast, and which was great. Got a picture of it. My very next cast, I caught an 11-pounder. Doing
Nice.
that. And those are my 2 biggest fish I've caught, the 10 and 11.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Florida.
Now, see, I would have been thrown over after a couple fish. That line would have been over right in the crack of his ears on each side. That's how, if he's not moving, sorry.
I was getting mad for sure. 19-pounder. Go ahead. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. You know what? When I got off the boats here, that's all we did was bass fish. All of us. It was very competitive between all the skippers and everything, and we were bringing in different type of methodologies with it. Implementing the electronics and everything that we knew, currents, which 90% of the guys had never determined it, but you can't determine unless you're holding a constant, right, with 2 anchors.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we implemented from the ocean here that we made it very successful up there, but I was blessed to, between 88 and 89, I got an 18 3/4, and I was blessed with that. I thought, God, that's the biggest one you give me. I'm happy, and they had that Big Bass World Championship in 1989. Right?
Yeah.
So I was in tune with, every day I'd come home, we come home, we'd talk to Taka, Corky Okoye, Glenn, all my bass fishing buddies that have fished. And that network of information went amongst all of us that shared information. Mm-hmm. If they weren't open to sharing, we weren't going to share the information back when we got back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these different things. Made it. This is pretty cool watching these guys where the headlights come by on the bikes. But anyway, so I credit Corky Okoye, who was a phenomenal fisherman as it is. He's had like world record yellowfin and everything else, but he's just a great fisherman. He fly fishes, he does everything like we do too. And Corky took Kyle. I don't know, you know Kyle, don't you? Yokoy, he works over at Daiwa. Do you deal with those guys? Kyle Yokoy? Anyway,
No. I know Kurt Awakawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle's, he's on pro staff, but
Okay.
Kyle's there, and he takes Kyle on his spring break. He was still in school, and they started whacking the fish on the crawdads, and it switched overnight. It went from they were getting the shad bites spooning. And they were getting some 10-pounders back in Elizabeth, spooning
Yeah.
10-pounders in deeper
So this was
water,
a
right?
steak.
Yes, they
Yeah.
catch steak. And Corky says, they ate the dads. So I go, gotta go. So now, December 7th, or excuse me, not December, what am I saying? That Pearl Harbor. Okay, January 7th, guys. I had just entered this big bass world champion, the first one that Bass and Magazine had, right?
I remember that.
And so the first trip I go out, we're going to go December 7th. It snows. I'm watching it
It's
on
snowing.
TV. Yeah,
At Castaic.
it's closed. I-5 is closed at Lake
my
Hughes.
God. Oh, that's
so
right.
I called
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
I called
yeah.
the mini mart. I says, "Hey, is Parker Road open?" He goes, "Yeah." So I called the lake, I says, "You guys going to be open on Sunday?" "Yeah, we'll be open."
Yeah.
So I called Taka, and we went up. He took his boat. I took my boat. We were the 2 of the 5 boats on the lake. The others were like rental boats and stuff like that. There were only 3 other boats on the lake.
Yeah.
And so we get up there. The first spot I fished was one of this high spot inside of old Outhouse Cove, right? And one of my first casts, I had Taka's son with me, Marty, who was one of my second tickets on the Mustang. And one of my early casts, I stick a fish, the rod tip stops, and it just does this slow walk, and it unbuttons, and I go,
That was a
that
good
was a
one.
good one. That was a good one, right? So we have a good day. We go through the day. We're picking a lot of nice fish. 4 to like 7, 8 pounds. And then we meet Taka back at Elizabeth late in the afternoon. And mind you, because there's only a couple boats on the lake, I know we're going to get chased off early.
Yeah.
Taka had a few more fish, and there was all that same beautiful grade of fish, right? So I go, what the heck? Well, let's go back to where I dumped the fish this morning, So we get over there. We double anchor on it. There's a tree. The tree was 12 feet. It was in 18 feet of water. And I straddled it. Marty went down the left side. I went down the right side. He gets bit immediately. He gets a nice, I think it was about 7, 8 pounder, right?
Yeah.
And I run over and net his fish. I pick up my rod, my crawdad starts thumping, and all of a sudden, boom, I stick it, and it has that slow, steady walk again. I go, I think this is a nice fish, and it's going at the tree, so I'm leaning on this thing, putting really pressure in it. It turns, it starts coming back under the boat, comes under my anchor line, straight up under the boat. Now, I'm talking less than probably a couple minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I said, Marty, get ready. It's coming straight up. And he nets it. And he goes, "Oh, explode."
Yeah.
He used a different word. And then I looked and I'm thinking, oh, what is it, a catfish? And he goes, "No." And I looked over and I said the same thing. You have to forgive me, God, for using my language at that point, at that
poop.
particular time. Yeah, that was it. Oh, poop. And that was in 1904.
Wow.
But I credit Cork. I wouldn't have caught it. If he didn't pass on the information, we had a network of neat guys, that we worked with over the years that we shared information, and we religiously, I would call our friends that shared the information, and kept them updated on where we were catching our fish and everything. So it wasn't just me. It was a network of guys that I credit too, But it was just nice having guys like that around there. You could share information with that. We'd share it back,
Good stuff.
But
Good
yeah,
stuff.
that was that 1904. So.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
But
a
I dumped a
giant.
few that were bigger.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
I'm grabbing your show again.
Yeah, no.
Here I am,
Good
man.
stuff.
for it.
Good stuff.
Hey, let's see. Brian Harnell says to you, Danny, you're old if you remember the Big Mac that ran off the Huntington Beach Pier. That's a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Guys, what's your favorite SoCal lake?
Clear Lake. 100% Clear Lake. Loaded with big ones. Loaded with big bass.
It had to have been Castaic, but I mean, Casitas was a close second. It was tough because I liked a lot of San Diego lakes, but there was too much pressure by the San Diego skippers, and that was their home.
Yeah.
This was our home, so we kind of, it was tough because I can go down there, but you had Ray Montero, the Sansom brothers, John Collins. You have all these great fishermen, all these skippers, and they'd have all the spots locked up. So it was better for us to concentrate up here, and we were lucky for that reason too. That we were fortunate. So it was closer, and it was more productive for us too. So
Yeah. Did you know much about back in those days? I've had conversations with like Roland Martin about like the F1, F2, all that stuff about the Florida largemouth, and in the history of.
Roland and I, we did a couple shows together, and we became good friends. The guy who I was talking to, I don't know if you remember him, but before this all happened, it was Doug Hannon.
Doug Hannon,
The
yes.
bass professor.
Yeah, the
I
bass
recall
professor.
Doug.
Yeah.
And I would have bet anything that Doug would have come out to California, and I invited him out. But he really just washed his hands in California. He was used to that Florida shallow water, fishing the tules, fishing shiners like this.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would have thought he would really dug that and understood that. But I offered that to him. I told him, "Why don't you come out? We'll do a show out here."
Yeah.
But I do credit him with one of the things that I implemented was he camouflaged the lines. You know how you take the a green mark slot?
Yes.
And I was using 10-pound XT, which actually broke on the machine at 17. So that's why it kicked me into the 20-pound class. Is that 10-pound XT, broke at 17.
That Berkeley line was strong.
It was strong, and it had very little stretch. It was kind of opaque. But Todd, I proved that to myself thanks to Doug. He got me to camouflage the line. This is before he came out with his own camo line, right?
Yeah.
I went next door into the pool, and first thing went in with the line, looked at it, and you could see the sunlight coming down.
Yeah.
The whole
Fiber
line,
optic.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then when I marked it with the gradients of green every 3 inches, green, clear, you couldn't see it.
Yeah. And
that to me changed my I think hooking percentage a lot. It made a big difference.
Yeah.
That was a crucial deal, and I got to credit Doug with that.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, am I back?
Yeah, you can
back.
be.
All right,
You're
here I am.
back.
You guys are getting tons of great comments. They love the show. They got a ton more questions to go. $200 reel coming up here shortly. Shortly.
Yeah.
Stay with us. Tell your friends. Well, maybe you don't want to tell your friends, right? Keep it to yourself. Okay, Tyler Tanaka sends us a super chat. $5, Tyler. Thank you so much. I'll make you a promise. I won't share it with either one of these guys. Thanks, Tyler. Dinner for Phil. That's what he says.
You want the real Sin 50 out? Yeah.
Tyler, ta-da, you win. I don't know how that happened. Todd, please share your opinion of the future of live scope, forward-facing radar in pro fishing tourneys.
That's a great. That's like the topic. That topic is hot as Taylor Swift at a Kansas City Chiefs game right now. There's actually 3 companies that make the forward-facing sonar. That's Humminbird, Garmin, and Lowrance. I'm a Lowrance guy. I've been a Lowrance guy pretty much my whole life for the most part, and they make a great forward-facing sonar unit. I love it. The fact that you can see. But let me tell you. For you guys who don't know what forward-facing sonar is, it's basically the same thing that's going on in the ocean. When you're going out in the ocean and that captain says start throwing bait, that's forward, side, 360, basically facing sonar that they're using. So we're just using a fraction of what they're using out of the ocean for years, forward-facing. The great thing about Lowrance is you can put 2 units where you can see forward and backwards, and then they have another view called scout view and down view, so you have a lot of ways to see fish. But here's the deal. I've been trying to get mine dialed in. I've probably had forward-facing sonar now for 2 years. And I went out the other day, and I was seeing fish, bait, you name it, all over the place. I'd throw at them. I'd watch my bait drop right in front of them. I'd throw rip bait right in front of them, and I couldn't get them to bite my bait. So you still got to get them to bite. There's still, when they're talking about the tuna out here that are, one day you're on it and one day you're not. Sometimes they just don't want to bite. All fish are the same way. I'm not sure why, what causes, whether it's the pressure, and when I don't mean fishing pressure, I mean barometric pressure. That's a big deal. Or the moon phase. There's all these different varieties that come in it. So, but I'm an advocate of forward-facing sonar. Love it. It's fun fishing. And like I said, I'm 60, so you would think an old guy would want to go back to old school. But I'm all for anything advanced to help me catch fish.
Todd, we were talking about this earlier too, but it's funny because like Daryl Lowrance, I got to know him really well,
Yeah.
and he used me in promotions
the
and
man.
stuff. But I did a press conference once. And this kind of relates to some of the earlier scanners. Humminbird came out with they called it a 3D. They thought it was like a sonar.
Yeah.
Okay. But I had, and Jimmy Houston was the rep, and we were at a Bassmaster Classic. And I asked, of course, he talked to me about it because at this time I was already implementing the scanning sonar. So we had pretty good electronics, a background, even more so than, the tournament guys
Sure.
at that point. So what the problem was that it was a farce deal that Humminbird had, because what it was, he said, it's really like a sonar. You get this big sweep, 180s. Well, what it was the cone of your transducer was 60 degrees. So you had 60 degrees here, 60 here, and 60 here. So yeah, you got 180 degrees, right?
Yeah.
Here's what happened. So Darryl went to a place. They had these 40-foot trees. The 40-foot tree here and a 40-foot tree here, and it doesn't either of the 40-foot trees. Because the weakest signal was at the very
40 feet
of each one of those particular zones, the three zones. So winning the lawsuit, we did this in a press conference.
Interesting.
And because at that point too, Darryl knew that I was already using scanning sonar, so our background in sonars and everything it was a little different from the freshwater at that point because we were implementing the scanning stuff out here.
The beauty about the Lowrance Active Target 2 is it can see 100. You can accurately see at 100 feet, but you can't cast. I mean, you can't make casts, but you can see fish coming in your zone at 100 feet. It's clear. It's clear as it is.
Amazing.
Yeah, at 5 feet.
That's
It's
absolutely
100.
amazing.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, here I come again,
All
boys.
right.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Daniel Llanos, he says, you think he's new to freshwater fishing, so he's asking, what bites during this time of the year here in Southern California? We got people watching us from all around the world.
Yeah.
We should rub it in a little bit. What's the air temp right now? Sun's gone down, 75?
Yeah, it's in the
it's
70s.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we're
getting
wearing
better.
shorts. Yeah, it's nice. It is beautiful.
It's so nice. What's going on freshwater wise right now?
Yeah, freshwater bass is pretty much they're chasing bait. They're chasing bait around. I would say as the water's cooling, they tend to chase more bait. So basically, you find the bait, you find the fish. We have Lake Paris, which is about 80 miles from here. They're chasing bait there right now. They're eating the shad and the silver sides. You have Lake Mojave, which is where the U.S. Open's going to be at. They're chasing bait there right now. Will they eat a crawdad right now? Of course they will. But yeah, they're chasing bait right now. They're definitely getting this is our fall into the winter, and they chase bait a lot this time of the year.
All right, DJB with a $20. I'm telling you, he just wants to say thanks again. Friedman Adventures is the best. That's you guys he's complimenting.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Doug Rubin on the El Sueño from San Diego is saying hello. He said offshore trip yesterday for some yellowtail down south. Tuna were missing in action. I've heard that. Ken Trenholm, who is a fantastic guy. Hello, Friedman Adventures family. I'm loving all the fishing knowledge from bluegill to bluefin and everything in between. Ken, thanks for being here, my friend. Omar, Todd, could you share your experience from the 2016 Toyota Series Western Fishing Tournament?
Someone's doing their homework.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whoa.
2016, I believe that was Clear Lake, one of the Clear Lake tournaments I won. And so I won a major tournament at Clear Lake in 2016. Now, what would you say a decent average 5 fish would be in a tournament? What would you say?
Clear
Dan?
Lake?
Yeah. It not at Clear Lake, but at any lake.
yeah.
What would you say a high average would be?
Oh my God, probably 5 pounds.
Okay, so a 5-pound fish. So
25
5
pounds?
times 5 would be 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I would agree with you. Now, granted, up until that point, I had not won a major tournament. That was my first major. I've come in second. I won a boat at Havasu, in a team tournament a couple years before that. And so the first day of the tournament, I had 32.06, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, for 5 fish.
Nice.
And I didn't weigh big bass that day. I just weighed them all. They all were big, you know, and they weighed 32. And I was in second place. I wasn't even leading the tournament. The guy had, I think, 33 and some change the first day. Jim Moulton, he was leading the tournament.
Wow.
So when I walked across that stage with 32 pounds, I was in shock and awe. I really was. And I didn't know what was going to happen, you know, being in second place, but I was really, really excited. The second day, I weighed 28 pounds. So I had 60 pounds for 2 days. It's a 3-day tournament. And then the third day, the top 10 fishes. Okay, so I had 60 pounds, and now I was in the lead. I was in the lead by 1.5 pounds. Jim Moulton was in second now. And then one other guy, I think, was in third with, I had a 2.5 pound lead over that. And then after that, it dropped 10 pounds. So I had 2 guys I felt like I was really, really competing against. That night, I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep a wink that night because I was just, like I said, it was going to be my first major win. I was throwing a Bass Tricks underspin, 3/8 ounce gold underspin made by Blade Runner Tackle, and I was throwing a 5-inch hitch-colored Bass Tricks, just throwing it out, reeling it in with 12-pound test. And the third day, we had a front come through. Here's an example of how fish move. And we had a front come through, and you know, and I mixed my strategy up a little bit this third day. I had about 7 pounds total. I had 5 fish in my live well. I had about 7 pounds in my live well for 5 fish, and it was noon. I had a 240 weigh-in, okay, and I had a fish on a bed, a decent one, like a 3-pounder, that I ended up. That fish was there after the third day of the tournament. The fish was still there. I caught that fish, so that gave me about 9 pounds, 9.5 pounds. And at 2 o'clock, I pulled up to a dock, and it was clear. It was a cold front, but it was clear. It was bluebird skies, and it looked like an aquarium around the dock. It fished from this big to 5-pounders, and we couldn't get the fish to bite. We could not get those fish to bite. And about 500 yards from where we were at 2 o'clock, I'd say 2:15, I looked over where I caught most of my fish, and the birds were circling on the spot. And I told the guy, let's go. I picked up the trolling motor, ran over to this spot. I made a cast with my underspin. I'm reeling it in. You know, this is like, it's 2016. It's like it was yesterday for me. I'm reeling this bait in. I get it. I lift the bait up, and a 5-pounder tries to grab my bait. And I'm like, they're here, you know. I made another cast. I caught a 5-pounder. 2 casts later, I caught another 5-pounder. And at that point, I knew I had a 240 weigh-in. I looked at my Lowrance graph, and I needed to know how far away I was from the launch ramp. So I measured it. I was 10.6 miles from where I needed to weigh in. So I'm like, okay. I'm gonna give myself 12 minutes. You know, at 60 miles an hour, it's gonna take me 10 minutes to get there. Yeah. I'm gonna give myself 12 minutes. I caught another fish, and I told the guy, we gotta go. You know, threw my smallest one, threw it in. I weighed 16 pounds that third day, and I ended up winning by 7 pounds.
Ooh, bottom of the ninth walk-off, man.
77 pounds.
Ooh, sweet.
3 fish. Yeah, for 3 days. So there you go.
Awesome.
Ready to give this thing away?
Let's do another question.
Okay, another question.
Hey, but you can show that thing one more time.
Yes. We got the hat and the reel. $200 value plus the hat. So we'll call it $220.
$220, and it's coming up shortly. So hang on. Isaac, want to know, have you guys ever heard about the swamp in Hawaii? I saw a video. I didn't even know they had freshwater fish in Hawaii.
I do know they have smallmouth, but I even also know they have peacock bass there in Hawaii.
And largemouth.
Yeah, and largemouth.
Yeah. Whitetail Reservoir over in Kauai.
Yeah.
All right, Toulouse, calamari, and kayak rentals. How about this, guys? In the background, guess what you just saw? A beautiful falling star.
Oh,
are you serious?
We're totally blessed here.
Yes.
Michael Limon is the young man who comes here all the time. He is very, very sad. He says, what's happening, guys? This is Michael. Today I had a baseball game. My grandpa couldn't bring me to the show.
well,
Next time.
That's all right, Michael.
I love you, Michael.
I love you
He's
too.
the guy I
it,
walk
bud.
with, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, yeah,
He
yeah.
is.
Michael,
He's a
yeah.
great
I'm gonna
kid.
take him fishing one day.
All right. Oh,
There,
man, Todd.
Hey, there you go,
You
man.
make
That'll
his
be,
life,
he's
man.
such a
He's a
good
good
kid.
kid.
Who won
Shout
the
out.
game, by the way, right? We
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah, how many home runs did you hit?
Yeah. Brian Harnell, current is everything at Castaic and Pyramid, and the ski arm always bites better when the skiers are churning it up. Danny has to know this.
I like
You
it.
know, current depends. You know, everything's dependent on current. I don't care whether you're on the ocean or a lake or a stream or a river. You know, the current determines where those fish are going to be laying and where they're at. You know,
And they
the
love that
stratified.
mud line too when those
Oh, yeah,
skiers
there's
start
a-
turning.
there's
They
so
get in that
much-
mud
yeah.
line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ross Jen wants to know, do you guys like Lake Havasu?
Oh, crosses California, Arizona, and I over there too. So yeah, I absolutely love Havasu. Yeah, definitely.
All right, Isaac just threw us $20. He said, dinner, boys.
Yes, yes.
You know,
Isaac's the man.
if the office is open, I'll buy you guys a couple hard-boiled eggs.
Oh,
How about
perfect,
that, John? Yeah, there you go. I don't want you
I
to
can't eat them until tomorrow though, because my intermittent diet has ended like 3 hours ago. So.
Yeah, you're doing all this stuff too.
Yes,
I went
sir.
to the doctor today, and my blood pressure dropped to not even thinking about meds. So
Wow.
dropped, and I
That
lost
doesn't get any better
2
than
months,
that.
18 pounds down.
That's
so,
awesome.
Not bad, right?
Yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
not bad at all.
Carnivore. I'll keep you in touch on
Carnivore.
Walk with Phil on
Walk with Phil.
on YouTube. All right, Jim Stone. Should we still sharpen factory hooks?
Hooks that, especially if you buy them in 100 packs, is you almost have to hit them with a microscope, because what will happen is the tip of the hook will bend and you won't even be able to see it. So the answer is yes and no. A lot of the high grade owner Gamakatsu, Hayabusa hooks are really super sharp out of the package, but you have to be careful. If you're running around boat slapping, water, you can cause those hooks to go.
70s and 80s, you know, when I was fishing the crawdads, you had to have a super sharp hook.
Yeah.
So I would get boxes of hundreds and sit down, you know, right after I changed my line every single night. And you have to, folks, when you're chasing that particular fish, you don't want it in the back of your head where you hang a big toad and you're going, God, I wish I changed it. Or did I rub on something yesterday when I was fishing,
Yeah.
you know, or the last time you fished? No, you want to change. Everything's got to be fresh. It's got to,
Absolutely.
you know, and your hooks. I used to do a box of 100 every night. You know,
Wow.
well, whenever
Yeah,
they're chemically sharpened or they're already sharpened, you know,
good question.
right out of the box now. You don't have to do that.
All right, $200 reel coming up shortly. I'm stringing them along.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
notice
you're doing
that?
good.
He's chumming
Giving
up.
them
He's
on
chumming
there,
you
man.
up.
Up to 80 people.
5 more
watching right
likes,
now.
please.
Yeah, hit that like button, please. Does anyone know, and I don't know if you knew him or not, Todd, but Danny, I'm sure you did, whatever happened to Captain Cookie Cook? He ran the Liberty when it was at
Yeah, Cookie's
22nd
been-
Street.
yeah.
This guy, Nils Daniels, by the way, is 71 years old and watching the show, and he has that
Awesome.
question. I don't know.
Also,
what
I don't know what happened to Cookie either. Yeah,
Yeah, you know him, right?
Well, Taka was real close to Cookie, but you know, and that was you're talking about the late '60s, early '70s when you know.
Cookie Cook.
Yeah.
All right, Albert Ponce says, good evening, Phil and company. He just wanted to say hello, LA Exotics. What reel? Go ahead, show it again, Todd.
All right, this is
He
a
probably knows,
loose
but that's all right.
SD30SH. Really, really, really nice reel. I don't know a lot about reels other than they cast a mile. I know that, and they're super light, you know. But that's the reel right there. If you can see that,
Yeah,
very, very nice reel.
Okay,
Very, very
we're getting
nice
close now. A couple more minutes. Daniel Liano says, this is great, guys. Thank you for such a great show. Omar, thanks for sharing, Todd. Awesome win. Jorge Bocanegra retracted his message. Probably something dirty about me. So I'm glad you retracted it. You want to give it away?
Yeah, let's do it. What do you think? I think that especially that guy that knew about my Havasu, or I'm sorry, my Clear Lake win, and this is going to be a kind of a tough question, but let's try it and see how it goes. How many major wins? You know, when I say major, you know, I mean like FLW, one bass. How many major wins do I have under my belt?
Oh, my God. I'll come right in here and share
Yeah,
these with you.
first
This will be
person that hits the right number.
way too much fun here. So far, no answer. We got more questions. Boys, you're never going to get out of here. Albert Ponce says 17. Travis Wright, 10. Rod Wynn, 3.
That's it.
Oh, Rod Wynn, man.
Figures he would know because I know Rod. Rod's a good friend of mine, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, you guys had this worked out.
We did. You know it.
Rod Wynn with 3. SoCal Drew said 16. Dan Smith, 5. LA Exotics. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
You can see them all.
2 at Havasu, 1 at Clear Lake. Yep.
All right,
Awesome.
tremendous, man.
Yeah.
$200 reel. Do you see him on a
Yeah.
Can
I
you
see
take
him
care of
once.
that?
Yeah, I will. I'll take
Perfect.
care of this. Yeah. That's crazy.
That is awesome.
Well, thanks for watching, Rod. That's
That paid off.
bass fisherman. Yeah.
All right, back to that gentleman, Niels, who's 71 years old. I am really enjoying this show, he says. I know my question was related to 22nd Street. The Liberty was the boat to be on when Cook was the skipper. It just came to mind in fishing guy history you might know. Yeah, I knew Cookie. He was around when I was just getting
Well, Frankie
into
Hall was here too. He had the sharpshooter, and I mean, you had a tremendous amount of just historic guys. You know, they've been around from day one in sport fishing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a lot of history here. So
Jorge Bocanegra is back. He said, I learned from Dennis Yamamoto, who is in Cedros Island right now, catching yellowtail full speed, as you know.
I know
from the
Dennis.
morning briefing. You've got it memorized better than me. To keep loose keeps in small box. To keep loose keeps.
Loose hooks, I think.
Yeah,
you meant?
probably.
Yeah.
In small boxes filled with rice.
Ah,
What do you think?
that's probably a great idea,
Rice is
especially
a-
because
You
rice.
throw the hooks away and then eat the rice.
desiccant.
Yeah,
It
it's
takes
like
the moisture out.
But I think what he's saying, which makes sense, is it keeps it from vibrating and dulling those hooks. Having the rice in there kind of keeps it. That's a great idea. And you're right, especially in the ocean.
Rice has a talc in it. Usually, like for us, for the Japanese, you got to wash the rice till it's clear.
Yes.
'Cause that talc
I just made
keeps it
sushi the
dry,
other day.
right?
Yeah.
That keeps it dry. So
Wow, that's great.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's good-
an
good
old
deal.
school deal.
And
Yeah.
there's about
You put your
30
cell phone in there too when you drop it in water, and it
Yeah, that's right.
you run in rice. Yeah.
There's a ton more guesses on how many tournaments and so many people participate. I don't see another 3. Rob Jen said 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I mean, do you have anything else? I mean, you want to keep going or what? People are loving it.
Yeah, we could do it again another day or whatever.
Yeah, we can set another one. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
How about, you know how long we've been going? Over an hour and a half, boys.
Yeah.
It
Has it
flew
been that?
by.
Wow.
This was a
Okay.
great
That does
show.
fly.
Good.
I'll
Good.
tell you.
Yeah.
Dan Smith says, I put hooks in Kim's rice. She might beat me up. If he did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Try it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
You know what else you want to put in there? Your ghost shrimp. See Kim likes that. Live ghost shrimp, man.
That's it.
She will kill you. I guarantee you that. By the way, his wife, Kim, she's been carnivore for maybe 3 years or longer.
Yeah.
And she's got all kinds of great recipes. All right, gentlemen. I'm going to see me. So I'm going to jump out and I'm going to let
It's
you two
your
close
show.
this.
They love
It's
it.
your show.
That's right. It's
this is
Dan's
cool.
show.
No,
Yeah.
you guys
head to
close it
head.
up.
No, this is great. Well, Tom, we definitely got to reschedule. We'll go
Absolutely.
back, look through the albums and figure out some other things we could talk about, but I guaranteed no end to the material.
Yeah, and then that goes both ways, whether it's bass fishing or just
absolutely.
life in general.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I think the last time Phil had me in, we talked about just my life in general, which was fun for me. I don't know if it was fun for you guys, but
Well, you know, I
for me.
mean, I think it says it all when we have the same belief and we believe in the same guy, and you know, he's up there, he's guided us, and we've been blessed by it.
yeah,
You know, so.
yeah, absolutely. And I always bring stuff to give away, so you know, that's just kind of who I
Very
am.
good.
And I want you guys to check out Todd Woods Fishing. I've got the YouTube channel, and I've got you know, Facebook and Instagram. You know, reach out to me. I would love to chat it up with you guys. So, yeah, thanks,
Todd, been awesome. We're going to do it again, man.
Okay,
You got
thanks
it.
for having me.
Okay.
All right, and one of the winners wants my phone number again. I know. You just want to talk to me a little bit more. I'm only kidding. LA Exotic, 657-227-6459. That's the number. And if you need any info or anything else, I'm always happy to help all of you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Yes.
Man, you
Appreciate
guys
it.
rule.
Can't do it without you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Phil.
Tons of guys saying thank you.
Love you guys.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome, man.
That went by fast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.